What's up, and welcome to an episode of the Grindline Podcast. You're listening to episode 181. It's like fucking Christmas in Detroit. I am here tonight with Ryan and Tyler and Steve Yzerman, aka the Red Wings Santa Claus, has bought us a bunch of gifts. But how are you guys doing tonight?
I am good. I am a little bit tired, but wired, if that makes any sense at all, because I don't think I expected it today to go the way that it did. And
No.
it's actually kind of almost raised more questions than anything else, because maybe not so much on the defense, but offensively, it's like, what's going to be next? Because I feel like there's something that has to happen. So
Yeah, I
we're
don't
in
think
trouble.
I don't think it's done.
I don't think it can be done. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Steve Yzerman, as you alluded to, gave us some Christmas gifts in July. So definitely got to be happy about that. But I know we'll get into that. But yeah, no, there's got to be more to it. And I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, like I said, we got a packed show. If you saw my 5-minute major on YouTube, all currently 4,000 of you, thank you for watching it. But we do have talk about the draft, and we'll get right into that. Then we have free agency to talk about and a few questions from Twitter. But as you all know, with the 8th overall pick in the 2022 NHL draft, the Detroit Red Wings picked Marco Casper. Marco Casper is Austrian, for those of you who are wondering. He speaks really good German, so Mo Sider has someone to talk to. But he is from Austria. He played last season in the SHL with Rogla, where he will be going back next season, most likely. In 46 games played, he had 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points, and in 13 playoff games had 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points. He is big at 6 foot, 287 pounds. I think once he's done filling out, they kind of grow. I mean, Elmer Soderblom post draft grew like 3 inches. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Casper maybe hit 6'3", 6'4", maybe 220. He is a center. If you remember when we talked to Tony about him, that was the reason Tony was least excited, was probably because his ceiling is probably second line center, but his floor is probably third line center. So you're getting an NHL player. He could probably step in right now and play. And I just like that his youth team is called the Klagenfurter AC. And that's just a great name to say. But we welcome Marco Casper. He's a really good interview. Seems like a stand-up guy. And I think eventually, a few years down the road, he'll be able, when Andrew Copp is in the last year of his contract, maybe Marco Casper could step into that second line center position and fill that in. But now he's got time. But I like it. I mean, we said what was said about Casper in our interview with Tony.
Yeah, I just like what Yzerman is doing, filling the holes. Like on draft night, it looked like Casper could be a guy that could slide into that second line role, or maybe the third line center role, and then by the end of the season slide up to 2C. But now some of the additions, which you mentioned one of them already, Andrew Copp, you don't have to force that this year.
Yep.
So if Casper comes and makes the team, great. It's probably not going to happen at this point. You probably said that he's probably going to end up back in Sweden or maybe with the Griffins. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
I mean, the positive.
I'm excited about the draft pick, though. I will say that.
Totally. And what was funny is it was almost like they did it on purpose, maybe, who knows, but it was right at 12 o'clock. The first signing of the day was the Red Wings locking down Casper to his ELC.
ELC, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already got that going for him. I mean, obviously that you would assume, slide at least a year. I don't think, unless he pulls a Lucas Raymond, that he will be in North America. You got to think that the expectation is he'll be back with Rogla, which is a good thing. You got to assume that him and Wallander will play a season together over there. And is Wallander coming over this year or no?
No, I believe Wallander signed a 2-year contract with Rogla, so he will probably be playing with Marco Casper.
Yeah, so that will actually be a nice little twist on things.
Has that been confirmed, though, that Casper is going to play in the SHL this year?
I think when I saw last, it was like 99% in an interview. It was like a 99% chance that he will be going back to the SHL.
Yeah, I thought I saw that he still had a year for his contract there, which
he's honoring his contract.
Yep. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean,
no.
It's how many of the recent Wings have done that now? So
yeah, well, we've said that I think Yzerman probably prefers development in the SHL simply because, I mean, look what it did for Raymond. Look what it did for Sider. It gives them the SHL, I will say, is probably the third best league in the world behind the NHL and the KHL. I think it's above the AHL. There are people that will argue that. I think even though there's more ice, I think there's more skill in the SHL. In the
Still,
AHL,
yes.
you're going to have a smaller ice surface. You're going to have a more aggressive game, but you're going to also have overagers that are trying to earn a paycheck. And yeah, I think it's a lot rougher, but I think the SHL has more skill. So I think there's more opportunity to develop there.
If you listen to Ryan Whitney on Spit and Chicklets, he said that at the end of his career, he went to Russia, and then instead of going to Russia for a second year, he went to Sweden, and he thought it was going to be easy, and he played one game and had to retire because it was that tough. So.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
I think that'll be great for him to go back to the SHL for a season. I mean, even if he doesn't, if he somehow ends up in Grand Rapids, that isn't the worst thing in the world, but I think for the simplicity of development, the familiarization, you might as well call Rogla like Grand Rapids 2.0. And then between
like Frolunda was,
both of them are the stepping stones, if you will, for Red Wings prospects. So if he has to make that play there, we're good. And then if he doesn't and he's in Grand Rapids, so be it. Grand Rapids is going to have a hell of a year this year, and they're going to get that many. That's one extra stud prospect they're probably going to be seeing for an entire season. So,
yeah, just to recap on Marco Casper, his kind of little draft notes here from Elite Prospects Draft Guide. He's physical and capable along the boards, even in terms of manipulation. He recognizes the angle of defenders coming at him and knows how to beat them and escape them. He passes to the right areas, knows the next logical play in the offensive progression. He goes to the net hard and often and with purpose to screen, rebound, and score. He has good first touches, takes them inside when possible, and leads to the next play. I mean, all around, I think it's just a solid addition. Were there guys there I think could have had a higher ceiling? I think so. But those guys were not really guaranteed. Like we said, a Savoy was available, but there was no guarantee that Savoy was going to stick at center in the NHL. And I think that's part of the reason Marco Casper was drafted, is because he is a center. That is what he could, he can play wing because centers can play wing, but he can be an NHL center. And I think that was some of the worry with guys like a Nazar or guys like a Savoy, is during their NHL career, are they going to be a winger? Because they're a little smaller, they're a little lighter. Maybe that defense is not going to be as easy because of the way the league is going. As we saw with free agency, winning teams are huge. So that's basically it with Marco Casper. I mean, it's a guy you'll probably see in 2 to 3 seasons. There's no reason to rush him currently, but when he comes in, I think he'll be able to step right behind Dylan Larkin and get the job done, no problem.
You could see him next year. That would probably be the soonest you see him is next year.
Yeah, I think two is probably more likely.
Yeah, I could see 2 just because of where. I mean, if this year's free agency is any indication of what Yzerman's planning to do, you got to think, depending on how things shake out, if he's going to make some flips as they get to the deadline again, we'll see, depending on where they're standing. But you got to think that maybe next year he's going to continue to be aggressive and solidify the middle. So if it's 2 years out, that means he's got a year at Rogla, then he's coming over to Grand Rapids, and then he's in Detroit.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Nope. In round 2 with the number 40th overall pick, the Detroit Red Wings selected Dylan James from the Sioux City Musketeers of the USHL. In 62 games played, he had 28 goals and 33 assists for 61 points. I will take point per game guys all day. In the playoffs, in 10 games played, had 5 goals and 3 assists. This was one of the guys that in 2020-21 almost missed an entire season. Only played 7 games because the league shut down due to COVID. And he's 6 foot 181. He gives a really, really good interview. He is they described him as a workhorse kind of guy. He was one of the most valuable players in the USHL last season. And I think, again, because of the missed viewings and his inability to actually play, I think this is a guy that could be a really sneaky good pick. And if you look at the Red Wings during this draft, I mean, because they traded away a pick that we'll talk about, but they had 9 picks and 5 of them were centers. Add 2 left wings to that, they only selected 2 defensemen and no goalies. So Yzerman clearly identified a need, went for it. And I think Dylan James is going to be this kind of like character guy that, of course, I mean, the offense is there, you can see. And it's an exciting pick. But again, he's a good interview and just seems like a solid kid.
Great playmaker, which isn't surprising for what he's kind of going towards. And you kind of hit on already another solid interview. I mean, you look at a lot of the younger prospects, maybe that's just the way that they're kind of prepping these guys up now, but all of them were very confident.
Yep.
But also humble, I guess you could say. And you could tell that the hockey smarts were there with a lot of the kids that they were able to speak with. And he is another one of those where he's got that playmaking ability that I feel like Yzerman's really been pushing towards, on top of just having a decent like build to him. So he's going to be an intriguing one to watch. I mean, at 40, there's that chance that we could see him in the next three years. Hopefully that'll be where it plays out. And I think he's going to North Dakota to play hockey. So he's going to a solid program for college. It's an exciting pick. We'll see what happens, but the chances are there that he could be a good depth guy for him.
Yeah. And again, it's a guy you don't have to rush. You could let him sit in college for 4 years and have absolutely no issues with it.
Well, you don't want to do that.
Why?
Yeah, hopefully he's not there for all 4 years.
You don't want to do 4 years, because then you have that situation like the Adam Fox situation.
They could leave to join. If they're good, they could leave. Yeah.
Yeah. It just depends on if he gets on his ELC. If that's the case, then Detroit's in control. If not, then you can maybe throw some worry in there. But it also depends on, again, the next couple seasons. UFA period could get interesting, and who knows if Detroit's going to be in the position where that he sticks around with them. We'll see.
So we're going to cover just a few guys from the draft and then kind of go with the name list overall, because there's a lot of guys that the Red Wings seemed like they picked a lot of it looked like they dug in the draft. Like they reached for a lot of their picks, seemed like they were mocked a lot lower. But again, it's Yzerman, so who cares? He knows what he's doing, and his scouting team knows what they're doing. But the next guy that I think is really interesting that could possibly be one of the steals of the draft, just because of what I saw in video for him, is Dmitry Buchelnikov. Pick number 52 by the Detroit Red Wings. Now he's a little smaller, 5'10", 168. He is going to get bigger. He is a left wing with the SKA 1946 St. Petersburg MHL team, which is the junior last season. In 56 games played, he had 41 goals and 34 assists for 75 points. And in 9 playoff games, he had 9 goals and 5 assists for 14 points. Last season in the for Russia under 18 in the World Juniors, in 7 games played, he had 3 points. This guy is electric. The goal scoring is insane. He is human highlight reel.
Legit natural goal scorer. And
it's crazy. Just some of the stuff he does, and it doesn't matter. There could be 2 defenders in front of him. He just goes around and scores. He is sneaky, like super sneaky good. And I think that I saw some reports that maybe he was a little bit under scouted, that he could definitely be a first round talent. And I believe he was picked over last year. And it's a guy that you hope, because of what's going on in Russia, that he's not going to have any issues coming over. But I think this could be, I've seen comparisons to Kucherov out of him. And I looked it up. And I'm like, there's no way. Kucherov's got to be much bigger. Kucherov's not much bigger.
No.
I thought he was a bigger guy, and he's not. So that's an exciting thing to see. And just watching tape, like go watch tape on Dmitry Buchelnikov, and literally every play he makes, it's like a wow play. And it's very exciting to see.
He can snipe, and it's impressive.
From anywhere too.
Yeah, I know a lot of the people were saying that he was picked in the same area that Nikita Kucherov was picked in. People are saying, oh, this is Steve Yzerman's Nikita Kucherov comp. And no, obviously he's a second round pick, so you never know with those second round picks, but second round picks play in the league, right? So
yep.
What's that?
There's plenty.
There's plenty.
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
There's
plenty,
plenty
Tyler. Plenty of second round picks.
Yeah.
Play in the NHL.
I like that. I did not get that. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, he's a second round pick. So there's a chance that he plays in the NHL. There's a chance that he's an impact player, especially if you watch a lot of the highlights, like Greg kind of alluded to, he's electric. He's certainly electric. And I mean, is he Nikita Kucherov? Probably not. But could he be something like Nikita Kucherov? That would be, I mean, obviously probably the best thing to happen to the Wings, and that's kind of what jump started everything. They had Stamkos and they had those guys, and then Kucherov came and they started scoring a ton of goals, and the rest is history. But
and he's a right-hand shot, which I love.
Oh, he's a right-hand shot.
Yep.
Okay. So the right-handed version of Nikita Kucherov. There we go.
Hey, I'll take that all day.
Sider was the German Lidstrom, and Dmitry Buchelnikov is.
Oh my God! More like Dmitry butchered his last name.
Is that better?
Buchelnikov, Tyler. Buchelnikov.
Buchelnikov.
Thank you.
Is the?
Did you say that Buchelnikov?
Just call him Bucci.
Buchelnikov
Bucci
is the potential right-handed version of Nikita Kucherov. So there you go.
Sure, I'll take it.
So if we're going to run through the next couple before I get to the last little profile, at 105, they picked defenseman Anton Johansson. There's a Swede for you. At 113, one of the best names, center Amadeus Lombardi. At 129, one of the other best names, Maximilian Kilpinen, a center. At 137, Sweet. Defenseman Tanias Mathurin. At 201, center Owen Mellenbacher. And at 212, center Brennan Ali. Now, Brennan Ali is the other one that the Red Wings did a lot of kind of interviews with and post-game stuff or post-draft stuff. And he was actually mocked. I mean, some mocks had him in the second round, 6'1", 201 pounds, out of Glencoe, Illinois. So there's your U.S.-born player. He is committed to the University of Notre Dame for next season.
Oh, there you go.
In 2021-22, he played for Avon Old Farm School, which is a U.S. high school prep team. In 27 games, had 34 points. Then he played for the Lincoln Stars in the USHL, and in 9 games, had 2 assists. I mean, he, again, is your workhorse player. He's already, big. He's already NHL size. And they just say that, he never takes a shift off. He is constantly pedal to the metal, 110 miles an hour, trying to find the play, trying to find the puck, trying to knock people off. I don't know why he dropped. And again, it could be because of his split time, maybe under scouted last season. But again, there's the theme with Yzerman, and it's not just drafted players. It also goes into free agency. Yzerman is looking, besides maybe one pick, Yzerman is looking for character guys. He's looking for guys that are smart. He's looking for guys that not only play the game, but live the game and make it part of themselves. So I think that Brendan Ali is one of those kind of guys. And that's it was probably one of the more picks that stuck out to me simply because they covered their 7th round pick so much.
Yeah. If you take a guy like this, I'm trying to think of who the best compare. He's a 7th round pick. Is he gonna
is he a Luke Glendening
out there is he a Glendening? Is he gonna turn into a Zetterberg? Is there 2 very
different comps, Ryan?
I know, but you look at where he was drafted, the position that he's in, which is what you hope you get a stud from at center. So it seems like there's things that he does need to work on, because you mentioned he was at as high as what in one of the mocks?
I think I saw a mock that had him in the late 50s, early 60s.
So it's going to be interesting. If he's going to Notre Dame, much like North Dakota, some of these guys are going to some premier college teams. So if he picks it up, he's played on the US U18 team and U17 teams. So there's the potential there that he elevates himself and maybe he becomes a diamond in the rough. And that's best case scenario.
And that's what you're hoping for at this point. It's
sure, but I think you kind of hope that for all these guys. That's kind of the whole point of the draft, because you want somebody to, wow you and come out of nowhere. But if they do, they do. they don't. So be it. So I mean, it's going to be a while before we especially know what half these guys do. It's exciting because I don't think that. I mean, we knew that the Wings needed centers. Did we expect them to draft this many? I don't think so. So we'll see what happens.
And then free agency, you sign a couple centers as well, right? So, or was it just one?
Just
No,
the one.
just one.
No, it was just one.
Yeah,
It was just one.
but that's what we're actually going to go into next. So, oh man, today was the first day of free agency. Today's the 13th of July. For those that are listening, it was a big day. I mean, I thought maybe Yzerman would make 2 moves, 3 moves. Yzerman signs 5 players.
We knew the defense needed work, but we didn't
Yeah.
expect it as much to happen offensively.
So Yzerman splashed big. His first signing was Andrew Copp. Andrew Copp comes in this. I mean, it was known from very early this morning that Andrew Copp had basically a verbal.
It was known from last night, pretty much.
Yeah, had a verbal in place with
Bobby
Detroit.
Mack came out on fire with that one.
So Andrew Copp, 28 years old, comes in for 5 seasons at $5.625 million AAV. I mean, he is excited. He said he talked to Dylan Larkin like last week. He was at a wedding, I mean, with another one of the Red Wings free agent acquisitions. And he was talking to Larks, getting some advice from him. Not specifically like I'm coming to Detroit, but just some advice. And I mean, Andrew Copp, I think after seeing what Vincent Trocheck went for 7 years to the Rangers, I think he's probably your second best option. He is also younger, just turned 28. Last season, in 56 games with the Winnipeg Jets, he had 13 goals and 22 assists for 35 points. And in 16 games with the Rangers, had 8 goals and 10 assists for 18 points. He has been a Selke nominee the past season, the 2021-22 season. He's been a Selke nominee. He's also been voted for Lady Byng once. He's had some Lady Byng votes in there too. But I mean, Copp is going to come in and be 6'1", 206-pound center. He's going to come right into your second line and anchor it down, and that's kind of exactly what you needed.
No, he fits the need, obviously, but I think like with what Detroit was missing was a second strong two-way center.
Yep.
To complement Larkin. I mean, they've played together at Michigan. The joke was that Copp was, what did he say today? He was his captain.
Copp was his captain, and now Larkin's his captain.
And now I think the roles have been reversed. So that's fun to see, but he's going to bring a two-way game. I would assume that he'll be out there on the penalty kill. So you checked multiple boxes very easily there. Like he's going to be him and Larkin on your PK. Hello, watch out for that. So like we could be seeing, there's going to be a new explosiveness inside the top 6 that Detroit severely lacked. We kind of hoped, I think maybe Suter would do that last year. And there was times that he did, but I think you could definitely see that when Suter was sheltered a little bit more, playing against lesser competition, he definitely was thriving more, in my opinion.
Yep.
And if now you pretty much have cemented him as your third line center, assuming maybe with him and Rasmussen going back and forth probably, and that leaves Copp alone on the second line with take your pick of who you want to throw on his wing. So that's an exciting move to me. Is it like the top tier type of player that you're hoping for? Maybe. No, but he still makes this team better, which is what is absolutely important.
Yeah. So I can just hear "Hail to the Victors," being sung from the rooftops in Ann Arbor right now. No,
yeah, because he is a Michigan guy.
I mean, how cool is it that you have Dylan Larkin, number 1 center, University of Michigan, and number 2 center, Andrew Copp, University of Michigan. That's a Michigan fan's dream right there. But no, in all seriousness, down the middle looks really, really, really good now. I mean, you got Larkin, you got Copp, you got Pius Suter, and then you got Veleno.
Sonny, Rasmussen, Fabry.
That's called depth, man. You got someone thrown out of a face-off, you can just come in and take a face-off. And, face-offs are as important as it gets. So And it continues with the puck possession nowadays. So this is a big get. I really do like this. And I just want to say I did call this, by the way.
Okay,
I called
Tyler.
this a couple weeks ago, so I want to just toot my own horn here. But no, Copp's a good player. I see a lot of idiots complaining like, oh, it's too much, the term's too much, the money's too much. It's like, then what do you want? You want them to just do nothing?
Well,
You have to spend the money at some place, right?
My frustration with the it's too much comment, like they have the money to do it.
Yep.
Now, did they just pull a Columbus and go and spend what?
Blow their load on Johnny Gaudreau?
Almost just south of $10 million for Johnny Gaudreau? No. Would that have been great? Sure. But does he fill the extra need that Detroit would need? Possibly on a guy like Gaudreau, but Copp, he's at a moderate or a modest contract. He's just turned 28 years old. That's going to take him up through age 33 season. That's better than the 35 season that you're going to be getting from Trocheck.
Yep.
Not saying that Trocheck could have that dynamic drop off, but when his contract's expiring, that's about right before that point. 32 season is where most guys start kind of going downhill. So you're taking him through his prime years at a decent price. The salary cap's going to be going up unless something fucking crazy happens.
Knock on wood
So
right now.
By the time I'm knocking. So by the time that this contract is done, he's going to be chump change.
Yeah, I agree. Like at first when I saw the deal, I'm like, wait a minute, he's only making that. I'm like, there's no way that can be right. And then the Vinny Trocheck one comes. I'm like, holy shit.
Prices went up.
Yay.
But I mean, he's your two center, your number two center. So
I'm glad they got him on a 5-year deal too, right? Because I mean, at that point, the 5.6 will come off the books, and then you'll have to sign Edvinsson probably, and probably Sider as well, and Raymond. So that will obviously be a cap crunch. But I mean,
I don't know. It may work out in the sense that
it could.
They see what this team's doing and they go with better. I mean, they're going to demand pay. It's just the way things go. But if that cap goes up and these guys can make more money and it's not going to destroy this team and what they got up there building, I think that the core group that you just mentioned will see that.
Yeah.
Now, this is me being overly optimistic, of course, but to have the group that's been built, and I mean, if you're one of the Red Wings players that have still on this team and you saw the signings made, you're fucking excited.
Oh yeah.
If you're Dylan Larkin right now, you're ecstatic. Sign me that extension right now.
Well, that's what a lot of the players were saying. So I watched the interviews with the free agents, and someone like Copp said, yeah, well, first it's Steve Yzerman. I mean, you grow up a Michigan guy, Steve Yzerman's your guy. And a couple of the other guys said that too. But secondly, the vision was shown to them. The moves that they were trying to make were relayed to these guys before they made them. They said, look, we're pitching to these style players. You've played against our team. You've seen our rookies. You've seen where we're going. These are the guys I'm trying to bring in. We want you as part of that. And they're like, fuck yeah, I absolutely want to be part of that.
I'm in.
So that's the thing. Yeah. And they're getting like Copp said, like he got congratulations from Larkin. And Larkin's out there texting everyone. Larkin got on the phone with Marco Casper when he was drafted. So it's Larkin's excited. And to go back to Copp, I mean, Copp had the best season of his career last season. And if you think he's just going to drop off a cliff next season or in the next couple seasons, I don't know why you would think
Copp
that. And
the other thing that people aren't talking about, Copp had a pretty big impact of the New York Rangers during the playoffs this year.
He's one of their best playoff players.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said,
14
I like
points in 20 games or something like that?
Yeah, I believe so. Because they were in the third round?
Yeah.
He had a 25% shooting percentage
in the playoffs.
With New York in general, in the 16 games he played, he had a 25% shooting percentage, which is insane. That's not sustainable. That's crazy.
I mean, look at the guys that he was playing with.
But the big thing
helps a little bit.
The big thing is that he's also now a positive possession player. I mean, in total last season, he had a Corsi for a 53.8 and a Fenwick of 53.5. So he's playing a better possession game. And if you look at Jay Fresh's WAR card, his EV offense is 77%. His EV defense is 52, but his PK is 100%. 3-year weighted average of 100% PK. So one of the themes that we have found going through the free agent signings is that you're going to go from literally one of the worst, if not the worst, special teams in the entire league to bolster that back up. And again, if you another thing we didn't mention, the Red Wings hired Bob Bugner as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
And he ran the Sharks special teams, which were one of the best in the league last season.
Even though that team was terrible.
Even though the team was bad. So this is going to be, I mean, you're bringing in a guy who is really good at running special teams, and you're bringing in guys that are great at running the special teams, like Andrew Copp and Dylan Larkin on your PK. Like Dylan Larkin didn't play much PK last season, but
till the end.
Yeah, to have them on your power play, I mean, that's power play 1 and power play 2 are going to look drastically different this season. And Andrew Copp is going to largely factor into that.
Now you can actually have a more balanced power play attack. And I know we still have the other names to touch on, but you've got options for how you want to spread things out, or you really can do like you can stack one and just run with it. If it's not working, then you figure things out. But now you've got the type of roster that your best players will be on the ice for your power play. And that's what you're going to run with.
Yeah, I think the power play is going to be much improved. And just as a side note, Andrew Copp had 14 points in 20 games in the playoffs this year.
But yeah, it was 14 and 20. Okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to go with players that we like toward the front of this? How do we want to go? Who do we want to cover next?
Let's just go right. Let's go down. Let's go to Perron.
Yes, because that was going to be the next
57.
David Perron, 34 years old, signed a 2-year contract worth $4.75 million per season. I think that came in a little low, which I was happy with. There are people that are like, he's going to get probably between 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. And he got 4.75. So I'm happy he's making the same amount of money as Tyler Bertuzzi next season. David Perron last season in 67 games played for the St. Louis Blues had 27 goals and 30 assists for 57 points. I mean, that's again a great season for David Perron. If you look at his Corsi and Fenwick, again, possession player, 58.3 Corsi for 57.2 Fenwick. And if I'm looking at his JFresh card right now, David Perron was at a projected WAR of 84%. His EV offense was low at 18, but his EV defense is 94 with a power play of 89. So, I mean, he's going to be your special teams guy. He's going to be a very, very responsible defensive forward. And he showed last season that he's got the offense.
And he can throw a body.
Yeah, almost hitting 30 goals. I mean, he is very excited to come in. He's another one that said, when Steve Yzerman calls, you answer the phone. And that Steve Yzerman and Sean Horkoff showed him the path that the team is taking. I think he even said he played with Sean Horkoff. But he showed the path that they're taking. The guys are trying to bring in what they're doing. And Perron said, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of where this team is going.
Goals last year.
So I mean, that's what you need. Again, you're trying to go from the worst special teams in the league anywhere higher than the worst. You're trying to make the top half. So
feels like the Wings power play has been bad for the last
8
years. Because even those years with Datsuk and Zetterberg towards the end, the power play was not good.
No. Yeah. So I think it's a pickup that I'm great. I mean, looking at it and listening to him talk and listening to the way he explained the situation and what they told to him, it's exciting because, again, it's not a long contract. It's not going to hamstring you. He becomes your new old guy on the team. I mean, Perron, again, is your oldest player because, 34 years old. And now Mark Stahl is going to Florida. And Perron's basically replacing a Sam Gagner. And that's with a lot more, not to be like crass about it, I guess, but a lot more talent. So this is an exciting one to me because if they said, oh, we're signing Perron, if he's 34, we're signing him for 4 seasons, I'd be like, I don't want to take Perron to 38, but I'll take Perron to 36 at a contract like that. No problem.
And him and Gagner have been in the league the same amount of time, and he's got 165 or 160 more points than Gagne. So
Yeah, I'll take it.
it's a bit of an upgrade, I would say.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Gagne was a good player, a good filler player during the rebuild. But this, as I'm sure we'll talk about more, is starting to look less and less like a rebuild and more like a team on the up and up.
They want to everything that was done in these pickups signals to me that they want to be pushing for something more than bottom 5.
Oh yeah,
And
I think they should be knocking on the door for the playoffs.
yeah.
If I think that's the expectation now. You want to get these guys that taste of an end of season push to try to get that spot. And is it a wow roster when you look at it? Not really.
No, but it's better than what we're used to recently.
Exactly. And
much better.
There is skill that has been brought over. And it's kind of funny because you look at some of the guys he's picked up the last couple seasons, you're almost like, what has St. Louis been doing? Because we've kind of taken up all their table scraps and they've been working out fantastic for the most part. But I mean, you look at just last season, like we were saying, David Perron, he said 57 points in 67 games where Gagne had 31 and 81. Now, obviously different teams, St. Louis made the playoffs, but that's the type of player that's the upgrade that you're receiving. And what he can bring, especially on the power play. How many goals did you say he had this past season on the
11.
power play? Oh, wait, I have it right here. Yeah,
11 on the power play.
So
15 assists.
That's huge. So that's just think of him making those setup passes off the middle bumper or something to Raymond in the slot, or carrying it up along the right-hand side and dropping it back to Sider for a blast.
He's a pretty good one-timer guy too, from what I remember.
I mean, he can shoot. Like, that's what Detroit has been missing. Granted, yes, he's 34. That sucks. But now you've got that veteran presence. These guys that he brought in, they know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to get to the playoffs and the expectations that are going to be there. But they also just bring skill. And that's what Detroit has needed.
Yeah, and I would say he's 34. That sucks. If he was 34 and he had like 20 points in 82 games. Yeah, I mean, he's 34, but he's got 57 points in 67 games. Last season, he was over a point per game player.
David Perron has aged really well too in terms of his production and stuff. I mean, how many stints has he had with St. Louis now? 2 or 3?
One. He had one stint, went to Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Anaheim, back to St. Louis, to Vegas, back to St. Louis.
Great.
So wow. Third stint. But
let's just say he's not going back there. No, I don't
think so either. But to his credit, I mean, he was almost a point per game player in 2017-18, 66 points in 70 games. He had 46 and 57 in 18-19, 60 and 71 in 19-20, 58 and 56 in 2020-21, and 57 and 67 last season. So he's not dipping. I mean, at least not exponentially. And last season, he averaged 16 minutes and 59 seconds of ice time. He hit 57 points, averaging 16 minutes and 59 seconds of ice time. So, I mean, upgrade. It's an upgrade. And he's 6 foot, 200 pounds, and he's not afraid to hit people. So,
and he's a shit disturber as well. Like, he will get under people's skins like no other. And that's really, you could say that for several of these guys that he brought in.
Andrew Copp too, same thing.
I mean, we heard Malone already say that Detroit was tough to play against when he was in Tampa. It is now, that has elevated even further.
I would say the Wings with these additions are neck and neck with Ottawa now, right behind Boston.
Do you still think they're better than Ottawa?
I think they might be.
So,
I mean, it should be. I think it brings uncertainty to who is going to be on that like threshold of knocking on the door for the playoffs versus who's going to finish at the bottom of the division. It's not as clear cut as it was going into the start of last season.
So I think we'll finish out the forwards. The one that kind of caught everyone by surprise because there was literally no reporting on it until it actually happened. The Detroit Red Wings signed Dominic Kubilik formerly of the Chicago Blackhawks, who for some reason did not get him a qualifying offer because they're literally going full scorched earth tank mode.
Looks at Suter.
Yeah, he is 26 years old, signed a $2.5 million AAV contract.
Got a lot of checks now.
Yeah, we've got more checks. It's another check to add to the pile. But last season, Dominic Kubilik in 78 games played had 15 goals and 17 assists for 32 points. Now, in his first season, 2019-20, he was a 30-goal scorer. I think they're going to try and maybe boost him back to that. But again, his Corsi 4 was exactly 50%. His Fenwick was 49.4. If I look at his J Fresh WAR card for his weighted average over 3 years, a 78% WAR with a 59% EV offense, 46% EV defense. I mean, this is a guy you're going to throw on your third line and just throw him out there and let him go. And if his center is Pius Suter, there's probably already a connection there and you're going to run with it. So again, a guy who, when he was cut, I said this would be a really interesting pickup for Detroit.
Because he's a guy that's not going to cost you. Chat. We were both talking about that. I said, Yzerman would be interested in this one. And I mean, to me, this Kubilik one was kind of a no-brainer as soon as he was cut by Chicago or not given the qualifying offer. And, you know, him becoming a free agent, I'm like, okay, this would be interesting. And Kubilik had scored 30 goals in his career in the 1920 season with Chicago. Yeah. So he's going to be on a better team with better opportunity, maybe power play opportunity on the second power play unit or something. I look for that 15 number to go somewhere within the 20 to 28 range, maybe
if
30.
He's hitting 20, it's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look at it, there's some speed there. He's kind of what he reminds me of is maybe Andreas Athanasiou without that top end speed.
You mean current Blackhawk Andreas Athanasiou?
Yeah. So you could say that he's comparable to AA, where he's going to give you some random spark offensively, but other than that, it's not going to be any too crazy as far as what he's providing. But he's a great depth player for how this roster is now coming together, and it's not going to hurt you.
And again, he's a 7th round pick. He was picked 191 overall by LA in the 2013 NHL entry draft.
Ryan Strome just signed a 5-year deal with Anaheim.
Who did? Ryan Strome. Jeez. But I mean, this is a guy 6'2", 280 pounds. Again, a taller guy, bigger guy. I don't think he's going to be afraid to hit people either.
No.
And he's 26. He won't be 27 until August. Again, he's a bottom 6 guy. I said, your top 6 is probably set. Your bottom 6 needs to get better. And Kubilik makes your bottom 6 better. I mean, he's a bit better than an Adam Ernie, right? So
should be.
That's what we're looking at here. And this is the point where we're going to get a little bit into it. And I don't think we can fully get into it tonight. But the roster is going to get really tight here pretty soon. But we're going to move on to defense. And the first guy that we picked up was one that I kind of didn't want, and is also the most questionable contract of the day. And that is a 4-year deal with an AAV of $4.75 million for Ben Chiarot, 31 years old. That will take him to 35. He is a flexible defenseman, can play right or left defense. Last season, Ben Chiarot in 20 games played with Florida, had 2 points and 6 assists for 2 goals and 6 assists for 8 points. And in Montreal had 54 games played with 7 goals and 11 assists for 18 points. He is an absolute. Ben Chiarot, the guy on the interview, again, praised Steve Yzerman, said as a guy growing up in the 90s, the Red Wings are someone you watched. Yzerman is an icon of 90s hockey, one of the best in the game. He shows you his vision. He wants you on his team. You go to his team. As a guy, very personable, seems very nice. As a player, absolute asshole. And I think you get him, and I don't want to, but you throw him on the top pair with Mo Seider, and no one touches Mo Seider, and he can do whatever he wants. And that's
They
a
will.
dangerous thing, is to have a freewheeling Moritz Seider with space to just go out, shoot pucks. And Seider also is not afraid to manhandle people.
No,
But
not at all.
yeah,
But
Ben Sherrod's gonna go
Sherrod's going
beat
to step
people
in
up.
quicker than Seider will.
That might be the toughest pair in the National Hockey League.
Potential. I mean, Sherrod can give you a little bit of offense. I mean, I use a little bit like specifically there, but he also isn't like he is your new Mark Stahl, but he's obviously much younger and more mobile. But I had to look up, I knew I had a tweet about him that was from last summer. It might have been right around the time of the finals because it was in June. But all I put was Ben Sherrod is fucking dirty. Yeah. And you look at some of his highlights, like he headbutted a guy in the playoffs this year. I forget who it was. Was it the Tampa series?
Tyler is shaking his head. Yes.
I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Threw a headbutt.
Or maybe it was the Washington series.
I forget. Either way, he threw a headbutt and it was like, what are you doing? And then he's had some questionable hits from behind on guys. Like he lays it all out on the ice. Now,
he's big, 6'3", 226 pounds.
Yeah, but the thing with that is Detroit doesn't have that, or have they had that for several years? No. You could say, notwithstanding the Luke Witkowski era, but this one is actually someone that has some skill. So to see what Steve did by bringing in a guy like him to complement potentially Mo Seider out there, it's huge because you've got bodies that are now large. Yeah, they will hit and they will make things happen. I cannot see what you got going on.
A Matt Murray jersey.
Oh, that was fast, huh?
Already in Toronto.
But so no, am I a fan of it because it's 4 years just south of $5 million? No, but if he's healthy, he's going to provide defense. Danny DeKeyser wasn't healthy, getting paid more than that.
Yep.
He couldn't provide defense. Stahl, the ship had sailed. I wish him luck in Florida. But I can see why people are upset because it's a 4-year deal and he's 31 years old. But at the same time, that's going to be a great player in a way to be a mentor, especially if Edmondson does make the roster this season. He's there to help out Seider. So it makes sense to me. And with the cap going up again, his contract's not going to mean shit. So, and the other thing too, like just on the cap piece, we pretty much have a contract that falls off going into next season. His Abdelkader price drop, the Panics piece falls off for his $1.5 million. So there's a full
Franz
contract.
falls off too.
Franz is like, I think it's on like $500,000 this year, isn't it?
$500,000, but the Panic is 1.375. And Abdelkader's drops down over 1.23 to about 1.25 million.
So this season though, there's a lot of money that becomes available. I say a lot isn't
about 3 million,
but it is. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So that alone makes me like the deal for Copp and Sherrod cancels it out. I'm not worried about what they were paid for the situation this team is in, and it doesn't impact the future deals that will have to come through for Raymond. Not going to impact what Larkin's going to get. Not going to affect Seider. I feel good about it.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I will say about Ben Sherrod and a lot of these moves as well, they seem like playoff moves, or maybe not playoff moves in particular, but moves that are going to make your team harder to play against. And when those games become important down the stretch in March and in early April, and, if you're lucky enough, mid-April during the playoffs, it's going to give your team an opportunity to be tough to play against and ultimately an opportunity to win games. So I'm all for it. I mean, I didn't love the contract at first, but the more I think about it, it's like, okay, it's Steve Yzerman. The cap's going to go up. It's not going to hamstring him to sign Raymond or Seider or Edmondson at the time. So I don't really see an issue with it. I mean, I don't love the player, but I see why they went down that road. I think you could have went down that road with a Mark Stahl and maybe gotten kind of the same thing. But
No, I see why they went away from Stahl, and I think the style of play is you could pretty much put them next to each other and say, yeah, that makes sense. But Stahl's what, 36, 37,
going on 30.
That's
yeah.
the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason why I saw that happening. And like I said, the contract, while we don't necessarily think that it might be a little bit steep in terms of pay and length, like it's whatever, because they still have plenty of money available.
He
There's
must be a pretty well sought after defenseman amongst like not amongst the analytics community, but amongst like the NHL people, because didn't he fetch a first round pick?
Yep.
Yeah.
So and we all cringed when it happened.
Yeah, yep. I remember Mario saying in our group chat, "What the actual fuck?"
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm not going to question Steve Yzerman. That's the one that I was like kind of like, oof. But I don't know. We'll let it play out.
I think what it is if you look at it and what Yzerman's doing with these free agents is if you're not in a wild card spot this season, you are a playoff team next season, and a Ben Sherratt's the kind of guy that you're going to want in the playoffs. And he's a guy that is going to make life. And he even said today his job is to make life hard for the opposing team. And he's going to make their life a living hell. And that's what you need in the playoffs. It is something that the Red Wings don't have right now.
The Goon Squad, man.
Is a big 6'3", 225-pound guy that's just going to go lay people out. That his job is to lay people out, but he's also not a liability. Yeah. That's the problem. You can have a Witkowski who's going to go do that, but is an absolute liability in every other sense of the game. You're going to have a Giovanni Smith who I now see zero room for on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, he's going to do that, but he's going to go take freaking 10 penalty minutes a night and show nothing for it. So that's I think what you do is you get rid of someone like a Smith, because again, I see no room, and you bring in someone like a Sherratt who you basically had to overpay for, but he's going to provide that toughness in the lineup that everyone's clamoring for. Everyone always complains that we don't have the toughness, and now we have the toughness. So,
but
both on the up front and on the back end.
In the back. Yep.
And it comes with skill.
Yep.
Not just
enough.
Enough
skill.
Yes. So it'll be interesting. I
like Sherratt, I don't know if I'd go with skill, but
it's an upgrade from what we had. That's what I'm talking about.
That is true. Yes.
But I like what Perron said in today's interview. He's like, in reference to Sherratt, he's like, he doesn't get beat easily.
Yep.
He's extremely physical, a big guy.
Yep.
Who on Detroit did you have, other than Seider last season, who on Detroit could you say that about?
And even Sherratt said that about
maybe
Seider.
Stahl.
No.
Not really.
Yeah, beat.
Yeah,
Stahl was
slow.
Oh, I thought you meant tough. Okay, yeah.
Well, no,
yeah.
And Sherratt even said that they asked him about Seider, and he's like, the kid is very gifted offensively, defensively. He's not afraid. He said he's not afraid to make a hit, which he said is kind of rare in the younger guys now. He's not afraid to make a hit. And it's kind of the same thing, is that he said he's excited to get to work with him because he's that kind of tough player that's not going to take shit from someone, but now he's not really going to have to.
Yeah.
So.
Man, are we a long ways away from the Libor Sulaks and the Robbie Russos and the Danny DeKaisers and Jonathan Erickson? Do you guys remember that?
I try not to, Tyler.
Had to start the season with those guys because everybody else was hurt.
Oh. Well, we're going to go on to another defenseman because we did upgrade even more. And this one I actually like a lot. Is the Red Wings signed defenseman Olli Määttä to...
Wings haven't announced it yet, but it was
signed.
Put out there.
It's up on Cap Friendly.
It's just, I think pen to paper just hasn't taken place yet.
He is 27 years old. He is signed for 1 year at $2.25 million. And last season, in 66 games played with the LA Kings, he had 1 goal and 7 assists for 8 points, averaging 18 minutes and 17 seconds of ice time. If I go over to his JFresh card, though, I actually like it a lot more. Projected WAR of 70%, EV offense of 22, EV defense of 82. You're bringing him in as a defensive defenseman, but his PK is 92%. That's what you want to look at. Is he's a penalty kill guy. He's going to go out and you're not going to be scored on the penalty kill. And that's
your top PK unit could be Mata, Sider, Larkin, and Copp.
Yeah, and that's very much okay, Ryan. That's
okay.
That's very much okay. I mean, he again, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, Tyler, is he was big in the Pittsburgh system. I mean, started playing in 2013-14, had 29 points. 29 points in 78 games. 22nd overall in the 2012 entry draft. And he's 27, like I said, 6'2", 210 pounds. So he's a bigger guy. Again, not going to be afraid to throw the body. And I mean, he's a positive player. That's what I think it is he's not a liability anywhere. His Corsi is at a 49.5 last season, Fenwick at a 51.2. So he's mostly a positive possession guy. And he's
a Stanley Cup champion.
And yeah, that's the other thing is Olli Mats is a Stanley Cup champion and he improves the defense over
Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah. He improves the defense over literally Danny DeKeyser. He was Danny DeKeyser. There you go. Better defense. Olli Mats, a better defenseman. Ben Sherratt, better defenseman than Danny DeKeyser. You had to upgrade on Mark Stahl and Danny DeKeyser, and you went to Ben Sherratt and Olli Mats. That's an upgrade.
That is certainly an upgrade. I don't think anybody can debate that.
Yeah. What I like to see, though, I mean, even Kubilik has a season. Every player that Detroit brought in has extensive playoff experience.
Yep. They know what it takes to win. That is what Yzerman's bringing in.
Yep. Sherratt and Copp all those years in Winnipeg played together. You got Perron throughout everywhere he's gone, he has made the playoffs except for Edmonton, but I don't think he wants to talk about that one. But he was in Pittsburgh when they got traded to Anaheim. Like he's been there with St. Louis.
He won a cup too.
Yep.
With St. Louis.
The Blues.
Oh, was he on that team? That's right.
Yeah.
That's oh, duh. Of course he was. Sorry, I got my names mixed up. But yeah, Perron's won a cup. Then you look at Husso.
We haven't talked about yet. Who we're talking about next?
Hey, there you go. Look at that transition.
Are we just done? We're done with Olli Mats. Tyler, what do you got to say about Olli Mats before?
I like the Olli Mats. Like I said, he was a high pick, first rounder, and by Pittsburgh, and yeah, like you said, he's won 2 Stanley Cups. He wasn't a top pair on those teams, but he certainly was in the running for the Calder Trophy as well in 13-14, which I know is a long time ago now. But he's been in the league for a while. It's kind of a shutdown guy at this point in time of his career. There hasn't been much offense there anymore. But a good player overall. And certainly, as we talked about again, an upgrade over Danny DeKeyser, an upgrade over Mark Stahl, an upgrade over the guys you already have, and Jake Wallman and Osterley. So you really can't complain about this deal. And I mean, I don't think the term was that bad. I think the
1-year deal
dollar was good too. So, I mean, you really can't complain. It's a 1-year deal at 2.25. Come on.
I mean, you kind of look at it since it is a 1-year deal. Like, I don't think that he is expendable. I think he's going to be cemented to your bottom pair. It makes Osterley and Wallman more expendable than anything. Because if Edmondson does make this roster, you're looking at Sherratt, Edmondson, and Mata on your left side, and you're not hurting too bad right there. So you've got your shutdown guy here. Sherratt can give you both, and then you got Edmondson. That's a great 2-way defenseman. Like you're going to be in a good spot. And with what you mentioned for his PK stats, like he's going to be out there to eat minutes.
Yep.
And not going to it's not going to hurt you. But again, like I said, and I got on my little side tangent, he knows what it takes to get to the playoffs. And that's huge because the rosters that Detroit has fielded the last several years, they don't know that. Very few guys had that experience. And now that experience is there. And Perron, all these guys said it. They see that Detroit is turning the corner.
Yep.
And they're excited to be a part of that. And that is huge.
Yeah, they also mentioned a lot about the younger guys. They said we saw what the younger guys were doing in Detroit last season. and guys like Sider, and they mentioned Larkin, they mentioned Raymond, and what they're able to do to bring this team forward. And you didn't hear them mention the word rebuild at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
And bringing in guys like this, you are still rebuilding. Like Yzerman says, we're in year 3 of the rebuild, but
Sure.
you're coming out of this is coming out of the rebuild. If you were in a rebuild, like still deep in one, you would have seen more cap dump moves. You would have done what Arizona did today and take contracts for futures. And the Red Wings didn't do that. The Red Wings signed future contracts. That's what they did. So
It didn't go crazy though. That's what I love. I mean, 5 signings as a whole.
Big. 5 signings is big, and a lot of them are bigger names.
But they didn't go absolutely nuts. They didn't give Johnny Gaudreau a 7-year deal.
No, because that was stupid for Columbus.
Well, yeah.
We're not in the position to do that. In 2 years,
apparently he wanted to go there.
Sure, great. For whatever, he likes the R bar, Ryan. That's why Johnny Gaudreau.
Why wouldn't you have gone to like New Jersey or Philly? Like that's where you're from. Like
I couldn't tell you. But we'll be in that position maybe in 3 years to go drop 10 mil on a free agent.
But who knows where that cap will be at?
So start looking at the 2025 free agent class, and then we'll see who we're going to be dropping $10 million on. But the last guy we want to talk about tonight, we did get in a trade on draft night. The Detroit Red Wings sent a 2022 third round pick to St. Louis for Ville Husso, goaltender who literally got Vezina votes last season. In 40 games played, he had a save percentage of .919 and a goals against of .256 on a lot of nights, was better than Jordan Binnington. Also not a giant bitch like Jordan Binnington, but he is 6'3", 205 pounds. So he's a big guy from Helsinki, Finland. He's excited to come in. And again, we just keep getting friends for Sundqvist and Wallman. That's what keeps happening, because Sonny did like a huge, like, what's up, Ville Husso post. And then we get Perron and he's like, what's up, Perron? So we've got Perron, we've got Husso, we've got Wallman, we've got Robbie Fabry, and we've got Oscar Sundqvist. So we're basically turning into the St. Louis Blues. But
not to mention Ville Husso.
Yeah, a 1A, 1B of Ned and Husso. So Husso signed as soon as he was traded here, he signed a 3-year, $4.75 million contract. If we look at his JFresh card, he has a projected WAR of 75%, EV WAR of 77, PK WAR of 69, a 97% on high danger shots, which is really, really good. And also has a 97% of excellent starts. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is a guy that, again, is going to come in and probably play, like I said on the 5-minute major, probably going to play 40 games. He'll probably split with Ned. You're paying him to split with Ned is what you're doing right now. And the hope is that they come in and every night push each other to be better goalies. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. He's 27, Ned's 26, so they're both young. And I mean, this was a phenomenal trade by Yzerman. And the Blues people will try to tell you that Yzerman did not fleece them. I think you could have gotten either a higher pick or the third round plus a prospect or something for Husso, even though they were going to lose him for nothing, because the goalie market right now is an absolute shit show. I mean, Toronto took Matt Murray. You don't think Toronto could have offered you a little more for Ville Husso?
And Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, it's a huge win for Yzerman. You basically got Ville Husso and David Perron for Thomas Greiss and a third round pick from St. Louis. So, because St. Louis signed Greiss. So, I mean, I don't know what's happening over there, but Husso, I think, is a huge win. And it's exciting to go, like I said, from a Greiss to a Ville Husso.
You know what I find absolutely hysterical too? The fact that St. Louis won the Stanley Cup, and then what was it, a year later, they didn't sign their captain, Alex Pietrangelo. They signed toward Krug. Now they want to get rid of Krug. It's just like, what are they doing over in St. Louis? What is that Arch doing over there?
Army's struggling. Or is it even Army anymore?
Doug Armstrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is Army. Okay. Sorry. I was thinking of the other Armstrong. It's in Arizona. But no, I don't get it. And like I said earlier, like we're getting all the table scraps that for some reason they're just letting walk away. And it's definitely benefiting Detroit. I mean, we saw what Wallman did late last year, and it wasn't a whole lot, but he's an exciting young player to watch. And it's not to say that like St. Louis is bad. They're not. They're a playoff team, and they've still got pretty much the same roster as last season, but that's not necessarily a good thing because they haven't really improved. And like you said, Krug, like as soon as that deal came out, he's making $6.5 million for another 5 more years. He's 31 years old. So we'll see how that plays out. But no, I like Husso. I like what the tandem could end up being and how, like you said, these guys are probably going to push each other to the max. At least that's what you hope for. You hope that one guy doesn't go full drama and pull a Bennington, if you will. But I think with the way Ned is and how we've seen from Husso on the outside looking in when he's in St. Louis, like the potential is there. We've got defense on paper that should actually help them this season.
Yeah.
To include better two-way forwards. Like things are lining up to where it seems like we're not going to have to be worried about them getting 60 shots a night put on them. So as long as he can be average, this team will have a chance to win. And we saw that when Ned would play out of his ass, if Husso can pull that out, which I think that he can, and provide those big games that are going to be tight to give the wings that extra opportunity, that's all you can hope for. And if that's the case, it's a win.
Ryan, can you tell me why Mike Tirico is congratulating Andrew Copp for some reason?
Tirico's a Michigan boy.
Is he? Because his whole thing says proud Syracuse alum, go Orange.
No, he's from Michigan. I forget where is he from exactly.
Because he did a welcome home Copp. Awesome to have a Skyline Eagles wearing the wing wheel. Can't wait for the Red Wings 2022-23 season. So that's pretty cool.
He was born in New York, but
I say because he's an NBC sports announcer. He does all the big events. Is what
Tirico
does.
Yeah, they live in Ann Arbor. They've lived in Ann Arbor since '99.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he did a whole because Andrew Copp's got the Red Wings posted a timeline for him because he was born in Ann Arbor and is now playing for his basically childhood team. And he's a dream come true situation, full circle for Andrew Copp. But I think it's pretty cool. Tirico did a cool shout out message to him online. What's up? It's Greg here from the Grindline podcast with a message from Manscaped. Growing out your playoff beard, let that thing loose up top, but our friends at Manscaped are here to help you avoid a jumbo Joe downstairs. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming want to save your hockey pucks from a slap shot in crunch time this playoff season. 4 million men worldwide trust Manscaped to prepare them for the Stanley Cup. Join them and go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRINDLINE. Shaving your balls starts with the perfect package for your package, the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 400K LED spotlight when you need a more precise shave. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is also included in this package, which is also waterproof, uses skin-safe technology, so you can keep the unnecessary roughness on the ice where it belongs. There is no more pinching. There is no more pulling. There's no more crying because you're ripping out your nose hairs. Shaves them clean off with no issues at all whatsoever. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant to keep your balls sticking to your legs from end to end. No one will be chirping you anymore. The Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will give your balls a boost. Manscaped even threw in their Shed travel bag. Amazing bag, super soft, has just enough room for all the tools plus some extras. It's not too big. My problem is generally that the bags are too small and cannot fit everything, so I end up throwing extra stuff in a backpack. This bag is just the right size. The boys will be buzzing this Stanley Cup lineup from Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRINDLINE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code GRINDLINE at manscaped.com. Don't be a goon fighting your bush with the wrong trimmer. Choose the right tools for the job this playoff season with Manscaped. I think we're going to end tonight. We do have some questions. We have a little bit of time. Do we want to do Pete's question first? In a one-on-one battle to the death, who wins? A full-grown adult chimpanzee, or B, a full-grown adult Bengal tiger? That's a hard question.
A full-grown adult chimp or a Bengal tiger?
Yeah. I think It's hard. I think the Tiger wins that one because of power. I know
Yeah.
chimpanzees are powerful, but I think a tiger is going to kind of. I think a tiger is
If
going to
this
win
was
that
a
one. To me.
gorilla, I would maybe lean away from
Yeah.
the Bengal, but I'm going
Yeah.
Tiger.
I'm going tiger too.
What are we talking about?
We're on to questions, Tyler. You had to leave for a second. We're on to questions. Pete's question: in a one-on-one battle of death, who wins? A full-grown adult chimpanzee or a full-grown adult Bengal tiger?
Tiger.
I think the Tiger wins too. All right, from Captain Buffbeard at Hickich G on Twitter. How likely is Edvinsson making the team out of camp now that Detroit has added 2 more decently paid left-hand defensemen? And does Berggren have a spot on the final forward core, or does he stay in the AHL again? This is hard, and I feel for Berggren because looking at it, and I guess now there's much more room for Yzerman to make a trade, and I think he's going to have to with the way things are shaking down right now. I still feel Edvinsson beats out a guy in camp. I mean, if you're looking at whether you're going to play Edvinsson or Gustav Lindstrom, I think you put Wallman on the bottom pair and you slot Edvinsson on the second pair. And I think it's as easy as that. But to be a guy like Berggren and play very, very well in the AHL last season, and to look at these forward moves, unless you're trading a Zadina, unless you're packaging 2 forwards to bring back one or to bring back something else, it's hard. I don't want to play Berggren in a bottom pair or a bottom line role. I want to play him in a top 9 role, and I'm not sure where to put him right now.
I know he was almost a point per game player in Grand Rapids last year. He had 64 points in 70 games. The year before that, he almost was a point per game player in the SHL with 45 and 49. He is officially coming into his own. And I don't want to say that putting him back to Grand Rapids would be negative. I mean, we still have him for 2 more years on his ELC. So you've got that full control. Is he the first guy to get called up? Most likely. But I don't want to fully write him off because, I mean, if you look at it, like now you're basically what you're have to pay attention to is Zadina. You still have to get an offer out to and see what happens there. But does he provide you more than a Giovanni Smith? Berggren?
Yeah.
Does he provide you more than an Adam Ernie?
Yeah.
And the only other option would be a Rasmussen.
And Michael Rasmussen really excelled this last season. So, I mean, you now got your center depth though, Ryan. So do you maybe move out a Pia Suter?
Do you trade him?
Yeah. Do you maybe trade a Pia Suter?
But I don't think you necessarily want to, because they have solidified themselves defensively from the forward position. And Suter was a great guy in the PK, as we saw with all the excitement with the breakaways and shorthanded attempts and chances. But I mean, I think that Berggren could fit himself into this roster. The only problem is that it would likely be on the 4th line, maybe the 3rd line, depending on how things shake out. But right now, he's not cracking that top 6.
Yeah.
If he does, then he has a better camp and off season than what we saw from Lucas Raymond last season. And that won't happen. If it does, then that's fantastic. He hit his stride and he is officially coming to his own, but it's going to take a hell of a lot for him to crack that top 6. I think he could fit in the bottom 6 still, and it wouldn't be too much of an issue, but you still got Ernie, unless he's getting bought out of when the next window pops up, which there's still one more, right? Coming up soon.
Yep. One more buyout window.
So, I mean, unless Ernie's getting bought out or Smith is waived, I don't think Smith will get waived, but I think he does have to clear waivers now. So if he does get put down, I mean, do you lose him? I don't think you lose him.
I don't think you lose him though. Couldn't they? Wouldn't someone want a bottom 6 guy like him?
Who?
Giovanni Smith? I don't think so.
No, he's a dime a dozen type person. I mean, unless he can finally keep him, like, be aggressive but stay out of the box with it, then yeah, I would say that you could that's the type of guy you can make a move for.
Hell, the way
But-
Chicago's going, we could have Patrick Kane for Giovanni Smith 1-for-1.
You probably could.
Jesus, I don't want Patrick Kane anywhere near this organization. No, thank you.
But
All right, next question from Two Crows at Thought Caesar on Twitter. What's the reasonable ceiling for Kubilik since he's kind of the most surprising signing today? I say, yeah, he is the most surprising signing today. One that came out of nowhere. I think your ceiling for Kubilik on this team is a mid six guy. You're probably going to play him on your third line. I don't think you could move him up to the second in a pinch. He's not a top line guy, but I think he's going to be one of your third line guys, and he's probably going to really excel at his role on the third line. He's not going to have a lot of pressure on him. There's not going to be insanely hard matchups. And especially if he's got a center like a Pius Suter who he should be familiar with, I think that is where you're going to maybe kind of see to build some chemistry, and maybe he gets back to that 20, maybe he hits 20 goals. And if he hits 20 goals, that's phenomenal for a third line guy. So I think that you're looking for Kubilik to be a solid middle six, but probably third line guy on the Red Wings.
yeah, I think he's going to be your shutdown. I shouldn't say shutdown, but he's going to bring your offensive flair to that third line. I mean, you could put him out there opposite a wing of Zadina, and it might actually get pretty interesting. I mean,
I wonder if he can get back to that 30-goal season.
That's what I'm saying. You put him out there with Zadina. If Zadina, the discourse there, like, is he turning himself more into a playmaker rather than a goal scorer? I think that's possible because we saw what he could do with the puck this season when he had room. Now, they are countrymen. They've probably played. I don't know if they've actually played together before. I would assume they have. But you have him out there with Zadina and a Verana maybe on a random occasion. There could be something that happens there. I mean, that's me being hopeful of things, but I think if he's on your third line, sometimes second, it's not going to hurt you. If he gets bumped up to the first line, it's still not going to hurt you because he's going to be out there to bring you offense. And if he's doing those things, he's going to be in a good position anywhere on this team.
I will say one thing about Kubilik. I mean, he's been on a miserable Chicago team the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The year that he was on a not good, but a decent Chicago team, he had 46 points in 68 games, and that was the COVID shortened season. So he's still a young guy. He can still get better. He could still be a top, probably not a first line forward, but maybe a second line forward, and certainly a power play guy. He's a big guy. He's 6'2", you know. You need guys like that, especially we talk about playoffs and potentially playing important games down the stretch. Very important. And like I said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah. So our next few questions, we got a few about trades. One from Sam at Hockey Captain 13, one from Jimmy at James St. Dennis, one from Ryan, Richard Master 53. It's more asking about what would trades look like? Are you seeing Bird or Zadina getting traded? I think I saw a write-up about Lalone and his thoughts on Zadina, basically saying that he's the kind of guy who could use a coaching change. He's like a prime coach change candidate to kind of refresh his game. Bertuzzi's value will probably never be higher than right now unless he goes on a tear again next season. I could see, and again, we've got a lot of wiggle room now. So I could see a Bertuzzi get traded. I could see now, do I think anything that big is going to happen imminently? No. I think that that's more of a deadline kind of trade. And someone asked about Bertuzzi around Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, you could do Bert and you would probably need to throw in another pick to get a Tkachuk, or Bertuzzi and a defenseman to get a Tkachuk. And then again, you're
prospect in with that one.
Yeah, and then again, you're just plugging that hole with another forward, so you don't really help your roster situation that much. I mean, you upgrade because it's Matthew Tkachuk.
Well, and then keep in mind, though, Tkachuk is going to test free agency next year. He's pretty much made that clear. And
yeah, but if he comes to Detroit and sees what's happening versus where he's at,
and he's younger too, so he kind of more fits the rebuild. So
yeah, a guy like that, you got to think would be motivated to sign an extension in Detroit if that was the trade.
Yes, I would say that, but I will say one thing about the Tkachuks as a whole, even going back to Keith, they they make the contract very important. You know, you've seen those guys help hold out a little bit as well. So, I mean, they're not afraid to get every last dollar, and that's fine. If that's their prerogative, that's fine. I caution trading Bertuzzi and a pick to Calgary just to get a guy that may or may not sign a long-term extension. It's a risk. Maybe it's a risk Yzerman's willing to take. But the other thing that you could do as well is you could trade Bertuzzi to Toronto.
Well, hold on before you escape this one. Like, you got to think that if Yzerman's going to make a trade like that for a player like Kachuk and get him in Bertuzzi, that conversation has already been had with his agent that he's making that we're making this trade and we're signing you.
Yeah,
it's not going to be
like the Husso trade.
Yeah, it's not going to be a deadline flip. It's like we're trying to make a playoff push and we want you. But if you stay, cool. If not, whatever. It's not going to be one of those. Like
not
like
for high-profile guys.
It's like you want to make him part of the core going forward. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we're trading.
What's he going to command on the open market, though?
Matt Tkachuk, I mean, he's probably going to, with what he's doing, and if, again, keeps excelling and he's very young, I mean, you're going to see him get a Gaudreau-type deal. Right?
Is he the type of guy you give a Gaudreau type deal to, though?
Dude, super pain in the ass, extremely high skilled player. I think he's the kind of guy you give a Gaudreau type deal to.
That's the type of guy that could come to Detroit and become a fan favorite very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Just, again, a guy that pisses you off. I mean, Matt Tkachuk last season in 82 games played had 104 points, 42 goals, 62 assists. So he is the guy. Yeah, you give the money to a guy like Matt Tkachuk, and if your top line is Matt Tkachuk, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, I mean, again, Matt Tkachuk's not going to let people give Larkin or Raymond any shit, and that's, I mean, a trade centered around Tkachuk and Bertuzzi makes sense for Detroit. Does not make sense for Calgary at all.
Yeah, Calgary's in a bad spot at this point.
Yeah. I mean, would it be the best trade ever for Detroit in recent history? Probably. But that makes Calgary older, and they just lost Johnny Gaudreau. So that makes no sense there.
That's a bummer. I was trying to pull up the contract projections, but I think maybe
the Nylander one to me makes more sense.
Evolving Hockey must be down because every time I click.
They got slammed today. Yeah, they had a lot of traffic.
I was trying to see what the projection would be, so well.
A Nylander one would make more sense, I would think. At that point, you're giving Toronto something that helps them in the playoffs. They're giving you a slightly younger, more skilled forward. And, I mean, a guy that's going to put up points. So I think the Nylander one makes a little more sense. Nylander's a little more expensive. But
he's making 6.962 right now, and for 2 more years.
But again, that doesn't help your roster issue. I think it helps the team, but it doesn't help your roster issue. So I do think a trade is coming because of what Yzerman did today. I was maybe, like we said, expecting 3 signings and we got 5.
So you know what the other thing is too? We didn't get a Steve Yzerman press conference yet.
No, I think that'll happen tomorrow. I think they're trying to get the Ali Mata thing done, signed before a press conference, but we'll get a presser tomorrow. I asked Daniela, and she said when she knows, we'll know. But there's nothing yet. I think we got one more question to round it out, and then we can do our final thoughts from Chris at Faux Jack on Twitter. Bad hockey team good? And I'm going to see bad hockey team much better. We are a much better team than we were yesterday. And it's not just that, we made these moves and now we're better. No, Yzerman targeted specific needs that we've identified. I mean, size, special teams, leadership, IQ guys, toughness. And he went and got those guys. And I mean, of course, it's Yzerman. He's going to get those guys, but bad hockey team, much better. And I think possibly could push for a wild card spot next season because of the moves that were made today. And again, I don't think he's done because he has to do something else. So,
yeah, ideally. I mean, it's exciting, but nerve wracking. Like, what's going to happen? Like, who's it going to be? So, but it's not going to be if a move does happen. Say it's Bertuzzi, Zadina. I mean, those are the easy ones to pick on from this whole thing. Like whatever he does, if it's those guys moving out, something good's coming back.
Yep.
Ideally. So we'll see. But yeah,
I
good
would
hockey
say
team, or
bad hockey team, very close to being good. That's what I would say. I would say that they've improved everywhere, up front, on the back end, in net, behind the bench. They've improved everywhere that you can improve. And, I've seen some people talking about the off seasons of certain teams. And now I know it's not over yet because there's still, months to go and there's still free agents. Kadri still hasn't signed. Klingberg still hasn't signed.
Yeah, it sounds like Kadri's probably going to stay with the Avs.
Interesting. But in terms of sheer will or sheer adding to the team and moves that they've made, I don't know that anyone's done a better job than Steve Yzerman and the Wings have.
No, so Yzerman's the best general manager in the entire league.
Mhm.
And people, I'll put Sakic right up there with him, but I think Yzerman's better. So
yeah, shocker. Yzerman's better than Sakic.
Oh man, round
Some things
2
don't change.
It's coming. It's coming.
But I want to get you guys' final thoughts before we sign off. We're going to start with Ryan tonight.
No, final thoughts are it was an unexpected day, but a good day. I think as a Red Wing fan, you have to appreciate what just took place. There's a few more roster spots. I mean, he's got 21 out of 23 and 11.1 million in cap space still remaining. Like there's still flexibility there. You got to hope that maybe Larkin extension is going to be announced soon. So the things that are happening, what the comments made by the guys that they brought in, people other than just the fans, meaning the players and those within the organization, this might be the most excited we've seen from them in a very long time. And you try to temper that expectation. Malone even made that clear. Like, yes, this team could improve, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be contending. Yep. Now, anything can happen. It's the NHL. Things can get wild, but you feel better today at the end of the day than before 12 p.m. Eastern kicked off. And that is a huge step forward. And it shows that Yzerman is ready for this thing to, I think Max said it, turn the corner and make this a contending team, because we saw how LCA can be this year when that place is packed and loud, and it's really fucking loud. And the players felt it. They saw how that atmosphere can be. Now you start making this team a little bit better. That place start getting a little bit more full, and it stays full as the end of the season comes to a near. Or comes down the pipe there. So I'm pumped. It's not a Johnny Gaudreau that they brought in, but they brought in guys that can make the team better. And I feel like this team will be better. Now, will they stay healthy? We'll see. So already ran 33.
The other thing that people don't realize as well is Yzerman could still bring in a center if he wanted to and put Copp on the wing.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, he could.
I don't know if a Kadri would be something interesting, but it's still something that is possible. And on the back end, another thing that's possible is Klingberg. I'm not a huge fan of Klingberg, but I mean, it was discussed earlier, and there's still a chance that it could happen. I don't think it will, but you never know. I guess my final thoughts are, though, much improved hockey team. You got to be really excited to be a Red Wings fan right now. And I will say one thing. I just remember being younger and looking forward at this time of year, July, after July the 4th, it's like, damn, hockey season's still a long time away, and I can't wait for it to come. And I'd have countdowns and everything. And now I have more of a countdown for like Michigan football and like college football in general. But it's really starting to feel like I just can't wait for that time of year to come now, because the Wings are going to be a much improved hockey team. They're going to be something to watch just about every night. And I'm really, really, really excited. And I think everybody else should be as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
So my final thoughts are Dylan Larkin is extremely smart to wait until post-free agency to get his contract done, because with the contracts that have been signed, Lark's going to make bank. that is his value keeps going up and up and up. And I got to be at least 8.5 million now. 8.5 to 9 is my kind of my marker there for Dylan Larkin. But I'm going to give Steve Yzerman so far with what he has done. I mean, besides the Schrott one, which I'm not a super fan of, the other ones I think he did really good. I'm going to give him an A so far. I mean, I think the Copp deal filled a need. I think Perron deal was really good. Sneaking in and getting Kubilik is good. Ollie Mattis is going to be a good addition. So I'm going to give Yzerman an A so far because he did what needed to be done. And I mean, there's still days left. This is only day one of free agency. Like Tyler said, there are guys that still have to go. But I like what's happened so far. So that's what I'm going to say. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Need to give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet on Twitter for hosting us and spreading us around. We also like to give a shout out to Vintage Detroit, the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys. Excellent service, amazing quality. If you use the promo code GRINDLINE on manscaped.com, you'll get 20% off your order plus free shipping. If you use that same promo code on Bring Hockey Back, you'll get 12%. And on Howie's Hockey Tape, you will get 10%. You can check out our merch shop at redbubble.com by searching the Grind Line. And you can also check out our website, grindlinepodcast.com. Also sub to us on YouTube. Like I said, I post videos during the week when news happens on YouTube. So you'll be able to catch them there. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan and Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.